So I'm going to hand you over now to Domenico and Federica, who will be talking about, as it says on the slide, Zoe overview and Ibm Z Workload scheduler, Zoe Extensions. And that's about all I know about it too. So over to you, Domenico.
Thank you, Anna. So good morning and welcome, everybody. This year is strange through virtual event instead of face-to-face, but we are getting used to it as well. So I'm Domenico D'Alterio, and I am in IBM the offering manager responsible for the Z automation products. So it includes the Z Workload scheduler as well as ZNetView, system automation, service management unite, and a few suite offerings. And today I will share the presentation with Federica Gari. She's in HCL. You know that we have the partnership within IBM and Workload Scheduler between IBM and HCL on Workload Scheduler products. And she's a senior technical sales, and she will have a demo of the Zoe extensions of IBM Z Workload Scheduler. So as Anna said, feel free to ask questions along the time in the chat, or at the end we will have some time for the question and answer. So today in this session, I will give you a brief introduction of what is Zoe, even if I assume that if you join the session, at least you have some level of knowledge about Zoe. Then I will focus on how we are extending Zoe through IBM Z Workload Scheduler with specific extension points on the REST API and on the command line. As anticipated, Federica will deliver you a demo of the command line extension for Zoe. And then at the end, I will go through some enhancements that were recently delivered on IBM Z Workload Scheduler. Not sure if you already had the chance to join earlier today the presentation from Marco on the strategy and roadmap. You already mentioned some of them. We will go a little bit more in deep in them. So let's start with the Zoe. Zoe is the first open source project on mainframe. It is under the Linux Foundation organization that collapsed a series of open source projects, as you can see on the bottom left of the presentation. So it is completely open source. The founders of this project were IBM, Rocket, and CA, now a Broadcom company. And the reason why those three software vendors decided to invest in this project are shown in this slide. So we are observing in the information technology a revolution that changed the architecture, changed the IT environment with the greater and greater adoption of multiple cloud models. The problem is that the IT managers, the IT team, need to have those different cloud environments coexisting. And at the same time, while they invest in these, let's say, new environment or cloud environment, they have even to protect the current and future investments. And obviously, the investment that you made on mainframe are huge in the past. Nobody can think that some of the critical workload will be moved away from mainframe reasonably. And so you have the challenge to have to integrate the different environments and to have consistency between the different environments. Another challenge that we observed on the market is that specifically on mainframe, skilled people are retiring and many enterprises are onboarding young talent. They are talents for sure. However, I don't know why they are not used to the traditional, let's say, mainframe interfaces. I started my experience in IBM 21 years ago, and my first project was as a ZOS or S390 developer. And believe me, I never was in front of a 3270 panel before joining IBM. So the impact of the traditional interfaces and the way to interact with the mainframe in a traditional way is not the best for beginners, let's say. And so this is the reason why there is this challenge, let's say, with the new generation of operators or administrators or system programmers approaching the mainframe. So the Zoe vision statement is exactly about, let's say, managing those challenges. And specifically, the first vision statement, the first objective is to attract new people on the platform. They want to demystify the perception that the mainframe is a black box. Well, indeed it is a black box, but it is not so black, or it's not so difficult to work with. And so Zoe wants to demystify this perception of the Z platform as complex and complicated and hard to interact with. And Zoe wants to do that, enhancing the ability to integrate mainframe with other environments, with application running on other environments, promoting an open community of practices. So promoting the collaboration between the people working on mainframe or working on Zoe. The side effect of this will be to reduce the learning curve, and so to improve the productivity and to have interfaces that are more platform neutral and more cloud-like as experience. Moreover, it will simplify even the architecture, reducing obviously the operational overhead of having integrated your, let's say, historical workload and applications on mainframe with the rest of the world. And through this community approach, they want even to enrich the ecosystem around Zoe. And it is what we made with the workload scheduler, but you will see IBM specifically, but even other vendors are extending Zoe with the specific add-on. Every single day, I get the news of a new extension delivered by this software vendor or this other. And it's a good opportunity for you as a user, because you can have this ecosystem of free, or in some cases, commercial solution to extend Zoe. So that said, let's move to what Zoe is indeed. As we said, starting from the left, we have our famous black box, the mainframe that has the traditional interfaces like TSO, ISPF panel, Unix system services. So you can interact in Rex, JCL, and so on. What Zoe made is to add on top of those traditional interfaces a set of REST API that are included in Zoe base, let's say in the Zoe open source project that you can download from the zoe.org website. Those REST API that as well they're defined allows you to interact with databases, with data sets, with job, Unix system services, and there are even some system API, and I will touch on it briefly in the next slide. Together with the REST API provided directly by Zoe, Zoe made available an API mediation layer that is an API catalog for all the ZOS-based REST API. And so here, for example, vendors can extend it, adding a specific REST API for a specific domain or to interact with a specific application. On top of those REST API, Zoe delivers two components for the, let's say, end user interaction. The first one on the top right is the web desktop. It's a completely browser-based virtual desktop, so it doesn't prereq anything to be installed on your laptop. And built in the web desktop provided by Zoe, there are some explorers. The explorers are applications inside the web desktop that allows you to interact, for example, with Nvs, Unix system services, and so on. On top of it, there is a 3270 emulator available and the workflow editor available built in the Zoe, let's say, base package. The other component that is provided with Zoe is a Node.js command line interface that once again allows you as an user to interact with files, with the ZOS console, with job, TSO, and so on through a command line interface. The nice feature of Zoe is all of those components are extensible by anyone, basically. So let's give a deeper look at what Zoe provides itself. As I said, there is a set of REST API, and those are available with Zoe, and they through those API you can act on data set, and specifically you can see create, read, update, delete, or list all the data set. So I put in the slide all the information, even because the slides are available on the GSE UK website, and so even later on you can retrieve the information, or you can get from the zoe.org. So on top of the API for the dataset management, you have API to interact with JES and to get information about job in JES or the status, as well as to submit or cancel a job. You have API to interact with Unix system services, and so to act and manage Unix system services files. And at the end, you have even API to interact with the ZOS system itself. So to view information about ParmLib or the sysplex and the users and so on. As I said, together with the API provided by Zoe, Zoe provides this API catalog that is a UI catalog of all the available REST API to interact with the ZOS. There is even a gateway as a single secure point of entry for an ecosystem of API services, and there is even discovery service that allows you to discover API across many applications. One of the two components that are built on top of the API is the command line. And in some cases like IZWS that was not having a command line natively, it was a great advantage to be able to provide just an add-on to an existing command line. And so you have now the commands for Workload Scheduler integrated within this command line. However, even if you get just the Zoe, you will get the command line with the commands to interact with the data set directly from the command line, to interact with JES, to issue TSO or ZOS console commands, and to integrate. And the advantage of this command line is that you can easily integrate action on ZOS in your scripts. The responses are provided in JSON format, so a standard format even for other platforms. And at the end of the story, the command line is very useful, more than for the user interaction, for integrating it in a DevOps chain. So it is useful to integrate it in your script or in your build, test, deploy chain for the DevOps practice implementation. The web desktop, I think it's more for end user. So for a person that's faced with the mainframe entities that the first time they interact with mainframe, having an interface that is more modern, like a web UI, can improve his productivity and reduce the learning curve. As anticipated in this web desktop, that is an app container in a browser, there are already available some explorers. One is on JES. The Nvs Explorer allows you to have, and you can see in the screen capture, a view of the job in JES, and you can even select a specific job and see the JCL underlining the job, as well as you can submit the job, or you can cancel the job, or you can see the status of the job that is running in JES. There is even Nvs Explorer that allows you to have a tree view of your data set, and for each data set you can see all the data, all the members of the data set. You can visualize the content of a specific member in a window like this. You can edit it, save it, and it will be saved on the mainframe. And finally, there is the Unix System Services Explorer that allows you to do the same on the Unix System Services files. The ZSS server is the security provided by Zoe to grant the authorization and the authentication of the users. So this is a crucial point. The security is still based on mainframe. So when you log in the Zoe desktop or try to access the command line, you have to provide user ID and password, and they will be validated against your security product on mainframe, either RACF or whatever. It will then Zoe will create a token that will be used for the next interaction from the same session. Now, How to get involved in Zoe? You can have different level of involvement, and when you will get the presentation, all of them are hyperlink. Obviously, the main entry is at zoe.org, when you can find all the information on Zoe from the open source project. Then, if you want to test it, want to try it, you can either leverage the Z trial, IBM Z trial environment to test Zoe, or you can download Zoe, since it is open source, read the documentation, and have some hands-on on Zoe. You can even extend Zoe, as we did with the Ibm Z Workload scheduler, but anybody can contribute to the community extending Zoe, and then you can obviously provide feedback to the Zoe organization. IBM is making a great investment in extending Zoe, and it's extending Zoe on all of the three, let's say, area where it is possible to extend Zoe. So in terms of API, command line, and web desktop, obviously on different products. And it is to provide a consistent management and administrative interface appealing for the next generation IT staff. So we want to break down the silos that exist still in the different domains, but even break down the silos between yes, the other cloud environment or other distributed environment and mainframe, as well as facilitate the participation in the continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline. In this slide are listed, I would say, a subset of the available Zoe extensions. And as anticipated, there are extensions to the RESTful API of Zoe. There are extensions to the command line, and there are extensions even to the web desktop. The ones that you see highlighted in blue are the products I'm responsible for. So obviously, I'm focusing on them, but the IBM investment on Zoe extension is not limited to them, obviously. Another important thing to notice about Zoe, and then we will move to the more specific ICWS enhancements, is that since March this year, IBM provides an IBM distribution of Zoe. What does it mean is that if you like Zoe, but you are concerned to use it in your production environment because it is open source and it doesn't mean it is not supported, you can rely on IBM to have it supported by IBM. So the IBM distribution of Zoe is exactly the same, just what IBM had is that on the long-term support version of Zoe, it grants the support from the IBM team, not only from the open community. In some products, and ICWS is one of the products, the support for Zoe is granted for free for the scenarios that are related to the product. And there is even an offering for supporting Zoe for customers that want to extend Zoe. So if you are interested, you can contact me offline or your IBM representative. So now that I gave you a quick overview of the Zoe itself, let's go through IBM Z Workload scheduler. So last release of IBM Z Workload scheduler was the 9.5 delivered in March last year. I know Marco this morning already talked about it, so it is just to introduce the where we built on top the Zoe extension for ICWS. So in 9.5, there was a big investment on the dynamic workload console with an improved user experience and then a reduction of the software stack. So now it runs basically on Liberty, and it's very easy to install it. There is a script that in a matter of minutes you can deploy the dynamic workload console, as well as it is available as a Docker image, and recently was certified even on OpenShift. 9.5, there were important announcements for the management of applications in Docker containers, and there were the new integration with the common data provider to stream the data to analytic engine like Splunk or Elk, and other improvements to the workload optimization, as well as additional time specification. What I will focus on, even in the rest of the presentation, is the small program enhancement number 2 that was delivered in April this year. And this mainly because it is the new deliverable since last GSE UK, and even because in this small program enhancement were added the enhancement around the Zoe extension. So in this small program enhancement, Mark already touched on this this morning, was introduced even the automation hub, and we will talk about it a little bit later in the presentation. It is basically a web portal where HCL and IBM provides all the additional job types that you can use in your environment, as well as other people can join and contribute with their extensions in terms of job type running on the Decentric agent. On the mainframe itself, what was added with this deliverable was the possibility to run the dynamic work console even on Liberty on ZOS. So now you have the possibility to run the dynamic workload console natively on ZOS. And guess what? The Liberty or ZOS is included in the bill of material of the product. So free of charge, you can use it for DWC. And then there are even other improvements of the dynamic workload console, like the possibility to leverage DB2 for ZOS on every platform and the OpenShift support. About the automatic deployment of integration plugin, it's strictly related to the automation hub. I will talk about it later, and the same for the other two enhancements. The possibility to specify, to configure alerts sent via email when some unexpected condition will happen, or the possibility to enforce JES to run a job where I decide and not where JES decide. But I will focus now on the Zoe extension first. So, do you remember this picture? It is the picture about Zoe with the black box that now has been even more black with the controller of IZWS, the API and the API catalog, the API mediation layer, the web desktop and the command line. Well, with the workload scheduler, with Ibm Z Workload Scheduler, we are extending Zoe in 2 points. On the API catalog, adding a specific REST API for workload scheduler, and on the command line with a set of commands that allows you to interact with the Ibm Z Workload Scheduler from the Zoe command line. An important point that I didn't mention before is that to guarantee the users of Zoe of the goodness of the extensions, Zoe implemented a conformance program. So any extender of Zoe can extend, obviously, any of the components of Zoe. Then to get this certification, the Zoe conformance certification, it has to respect a certain number of constraints and tests and validation that ensure that the end users that the Zoe extension is conformant, so respect all the criteria of Zoe. Well, with Ibm Z Workload Scheduler, we got, and you have the conformance program for every extension. So there is a conformance program for the API, for the web desktop, and for the command line. And with IZWS, at the time of the GA, we were able to get the conformance for both the API extensions and the command line extension. Looking at the REST API, you will learn more in the session that Federica will have tomorrow morning. The session number is 3AF, that is specifically focused on all the REST API. So in IZWS, as you likely know, REST API were already available. What we made was to integrate them in the Zoe API mediation layer. So you can have a single interface for all the API and eventually even leverage the security component of Zoe for the authentication and the authorization. There are different set of APIs available. So there are API for modeling as well as for monitoring. So to act and to interact with the resources on the database, or to interact on resources in the current plan. And specifically for the modeling phase, so to interact on resources that are in the Ibm Z Workload Scheduler database, you can perform the following action. You can create a new resource through an add action. And in this case, you have to provide, obviously, the resource name to be created with some of the attributes that you want to specify, and the API will return the resource ID. You can even update an existing resource. In this case, you have to identify the resource through the resource ID, and you have to provide the attributes that you want to have updated. And the response will be the resource ID or no content if you are just, for example, releasing a job. You can delete a resource in the database. You can retrieve a list of resources, or you can fetch a resource and so retrieve all the attributes of a specific resource, providing the resource ID. On the right of the slide, you can see all the database resources that are the possible target of those actions. So all the resources on which you can interact through the REST API. In addition to the REST API for modeling, there is a set of REST API for acting on the plan. So in this case, again, the actions are similar, other than you don't have the possibility to delete something from the plan through the REST API, but you can add, update, query, and retrieve a list of resources, or fetch and get all the attributes of a specific resource. The plan resources that you can interact with through the REST API are listed again on the right of the slide. And so you can interact on critical job, and specifically you can have a list of the critical job, information about their risk level, current risk level, and the list of predecessor on the critical network. You can interact on a job, and obviously you can list the job submitting some filter. You can submit or update the properties of a job or do other actions specific for a job. You can act on job stream, job log, dependencies between job or applications. You can act on resources and workstation. As I said, tomorrow there will be one entire session on all the REST API with even some demo from Federica. The session number is 3AF. The other extension that was provided in April, back in April, in Ibm Z Workload Scheduler for Zoe is the command line extension. So this is the command line of Zoe. If you have installed the plugin for the ICWS extension, you will get in the list of commands even the group workload automation group of commands. It includes basically those 5 commands for now. The first one allows you to get resources from the plan, and so retrieve the resource with all the information. The second command allows you to get the list of all the job stream resources in the plan or in the database based on the filters that you provide as input. You can submit a job stream in the plan. You can update a resource in the plan, and a very good extensibility point is that there is a command to execute a WAPL command. So WAPL, that is the workload automation programming language, is an historical extensibility point of the product. You can leverage the existing command or create new commands, and then you can execute them starting from the Zoe command line extension. That said, I would leave the podium, the screen to Federica, that will go through this scenario and another couple of scenarios in a live demo.
Okay, thank you, Domenico. Hi, everyone. This is Federica. So now we will go through some scenarios. The first one is about an automated solution to manage ticket processing. So consider this scenario. you have a ticket. A ticket is submitted because of a failure in a business process. Then you need to have an automated job that basically manages the ticket process in the background. You can do this leveraging IZWS CLI plugin in Zoe, because using this you can create a script that include some commands together that takes in input all the attributes that are written in the ticket and allow to accomplish different scenarios. Let me say that you can, for example, run a recovery procedures, or you can run an application with some additional properties that are provided within the ticket, or you can submit an application with some time constraints or triggered by some external condition. So basically, which are the business challenge for this scenario? Well, most of the company want to avoid delay and improve efficiency in processing business failure, since let me say that delays are one of the biggest causes of poor performance. If a company is able to do this, then it can reduce costs and time when managing business process. Well, automating the resolution of a ticket with IZWS Zowe CLI, you can for sure reduce the skill needed on the scheduling solution, meaning that you don't need mainframe skill, specific mainframe skill, and you don't need the deep IZWS knowledge. And this will reduce as a consequence the workload on the scheduling team. So let me show you first of, okay, continue. Okay, I want to show you, before going through the scenarios, the documentation for the IWS CLI plugin in Zoe. Here you can see that you have all the possible commands that currently you can run in Zoe. We are extending the list of this command with the continuous delivery. For each command, you can, for instance, submit a job in the plan, a job stream in the plan, and you have the syntax, the basic syntax of the command that you have to type in the Zoe CLI plugin. And then you have all the options, the required one and the optional one. So you can build your own command. You have also some examples that you can copy and try in the Zoe CLI plugin for IZWS. So now let's see. This is the Zoe command line. I talked to you about the ticket processing. So for instance, I created a script that include some commands that are available in the Zoe CLI plugin for IZWS. Basically are submit a job stream in the plan, taking in input some attributes that are present in a file that is a ticket for me. And then I want to monitor this job stream submission in the plan. Let me say a things that for the Zoe CLI plugin, the naming convention is the same that is for the dynamic workload console, meaning that you have job stream instead of application, jobs instead of operation. This is just a little naming different from ISPF panel and DWC. So for instance, I want to run my script that is doing a job stream submission in the plan with some specific properties and the monitor of it. So I need to run my script that is a submit script, and I want to run this file because I want to take in input some information that I inserted in the ticket. Okay, so I want to submit. Okay, in my case, I decided to stop every time a command has to be performed, just to show you that I'm submitting my job stream. I receive back the unique identifier of the job stream in the plan. This is a common thing using REST API. And then I want to monitor this submission. And so I see that the job has been correctly submitted and is complete. For instance, I can also run another ticket. I want to process another ticket that includes some more input, some more attribute inside the ticket to run my job stream. I can run the job stream and I monitor the submission. Here you can see that the command used, the Zoe CLI command used for IZWS are the submit job streaming plan, and then I have the list job streaming plan. That is a kind of monitor. So let's think now about the submission, the simple submission of application in the plan. So as I told you, this is the prefix for all the command for IZWS in the CLI plugin, Zoe WA. Then I want to submit a job stream in plan. I have to provide at least the name of the job stream I want to submit. So for instance, in my case is Zoe application. I submit this job stream in the plan and I receive back the unique identifier of the job stream. Then I want, for instance, to query the status of the this job, so job stream in plan. I do a list providing the name of the application that I want to monitor. And I receive back the status. As you can see, I have more than one Zoe app in my list. For sure, I can look at the time, at the submission time. I know that I've submitted it at this time, 12:36. So this is my submission. But if you want, you can also filter your list on the job stream, providing another option that is called the time range. So in this case, I want to show you which is the command. So we will list job stream in plan. I provide the name of the application, Zoe app, and then I want to filter on a specific time range, that is minus time range. Time range is provided in this way inside the Zoe command line, sorry. So I just want to copy it to not waste your time. And okay, I could say from 36 to 37, just to have a time range, okay? And I receive back just the information about the application that I just submitted. So you can also filter on a specific time range inside the plan in order to have the information about the application that has been submitted. So as Domenico told you before, we also have the Zoe command for WAPL command. The Zoe CLI plugin is also extended WAPL command. A very nice scenario with WAPL command is the submission of a job inside the plan that has not an application, a job stream defined in the database. This could be very useful, for example, for application developer, because they develop an application, a program, and they want to try it. So they can submit this job inside the plan using WAPL command. The WAPL command will be, okay, Zoe WA always, then execute WAPL is the format to run WAPL command. Then the command I want to run. This is just something that you have to insert before running a WAPL command using REST API, then also Zoe CLI. The command is head job. Zowe02 is my job. I need to create a dynamic application inside the plan, so I provide a prefix. I want to call it, for example, GST, and then the job name. I need to define which is the workstation name. I want to run it on CPU1, for example. Execute this command. So what I wrote is Zoe WA, that is always the prefix for all the CLI command for AZWS. Then I want to execute a WAPL command, and hereafter I inserted the command. Okay. What I typed, I made an error. Let me see, which is okay. Prefix, okay. WS name, CPU1, execute, perfect. JB is the job name. Add the job, Zoe02. Okay, it seems to me that it is correct. Probably I typed something when pressing enter. Okay, WAPL command doesn't return something to you, just execute the action, because this is true in REST API. So the CLI plugin is based on REST API. But what I can do is, okay, I want to monitor the execution of this job stream in plan. Which is my job stream in this case? Well, in this case, my job stream is starting with GSC. So I can use wildcard inside the Zoe CLI command. And I know that it has been created, this application, and that it is successful. What I can do, I can also submit an application and release in hold and release this application. As you know, currently we have not really a release command inside the workload automation command. They are working on this new command, but we can do this using WAPL command. So for example, I want to submit a job stream in plan. Okay, always Zoe app, but I want to hold this job. I don't want it to be executed as soon as it is submitted, because I need to do something else before. So I submit this job. Okay, I received back the global identifier. Let me find the list so that, okay. I want to monitor, it is in waiting status. Okay, I just listed all the Zoe app job stream because I know they are very few. This is the one I'm interested in, because you see, this is the global identifier. I know that it is in waiting. Now, for example, I want to release this job stream, and I have to run a WAPL command. So command in this case is okay, options server. The command is release. I did Zoe app. Execute this command. I hope that I wrote it correctly. Okay, WAPL executed this command. Now I want to list again the job stream in the plan. And as you can see, the job stream I was looking before is now being released and has been completed. So these are some of the scenarios that you can run with the current available CLI command for IZWS. As I told you, we are developing and delivering new command in a continuous way, and you will be able also to run more than a command together, so that really you can automate, you can script and automate most of the business process that you need with the scheduler product. Okay, Domenico, I think that you will go through SP02. I don't know if there are questions. I see that there are some questions on the chat. Okay.
I don't see any questions in the chat.
No, just the problem of the screen. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope that the others were able to see the demo from Federica. I think it was a specific problem from Sean. So I will now spend a few minutes on the other announcement that were delivered in April. I said it was a small program announcement because we decided to not have a new release of Ibm Z Workload Scheduler too frequently based on customer input. But in the meantime, we want to continue to keep it alive and to deliver new features. So in April, we delivered this small program announcement. As anticipated, now it is possible to run the dynamic work console natively on ZOS through Z Liberty, let's say. So we'll see our application server for ZOS Liberty, and it is included as a supporting program of IZWS. Moreover, if you run Z-centric agents, the Z-centric agents were already available as Docker image. Now they run even on OpenShift. They are Red Hat certified technology, as well as if you decide to run the dynamic work console on distributed server, it is available even as Docker image, and it runs on OpenShift as well. The other announcement that I was mentioning at the beginning is the ability to enforce the execution of a job in a specific system. So now you can define and instrument, let's say Jazz, to run the job on a specific system and not to leave to Jazz the decision on what system to run the job, as well as you have the possibility to enforce Jazz to run it in a specific class. And it doesn't change the job itself. It is something that is added to the job definition and configuration at runtime. Another important improvement is the possibility to define, to have so alerts sent via email in case of something unexpected happens. So as an administrator of the IZ Workload Scheduler, you can define a subscriber list, so a list of email addresses that will be the target of this email, and what are the unexpected conditions that will trigger this email. And even obviously you can customize the body of the email or the subject of the email, so you can get a notification of something is going wrong, not only looking at the console, but even through an email. The automation hub, as I mentioned at the beginning, it was described already this morning by Marco, but however, for who we missed that, it is a new web portal where now you can have a complete view of all the job types or plugins, as we call them, to extend Ibm Z Workload Scheduler and manage different business application or applications or even cloud through the Ibm Z Workload Scheduler. So basically, what the plugins that are provided by IBM and HCL are included in the product license. You can download them from the Automation Hub. And basically, another announcement that was delivered in April is that when you want to use a plugin for a specific application, you just needed to download it from the Automation Hub on the Dynamic Workload Console. Then the first time that you will use that specific job type on a job, on a specific agent, the product itself will take care of the automatic deployment of the plugin on the agent at the time of the execution of the job. So it is the latest announcement that was delivered in April. Now we have still 9 minutes for questions, and then you will be able to leave the session and to provide your feedback. Usually I suggest to go on the right when you provide your feedback. Now I notice that in the question number 2, the right value to choose is 5. Anna, if you want to open for question on Zoe or Ibm Z Workload Scheduler on the demo, and in the meantime, let me share the GSU conference initiative about showing your appreciation with the donation. You will have all the material and the website and even in the presentation.
Yep. Okay. So I have changed the settings now, so everyone can unmute themselves if they have a question. Thank you both to Domenico and Federica for those excellent presentations. You know, that's the one on the right, the 9, 10, they're excellent. Okay. Okay, there's no questions in the chat. So if anybody has anything they'd like to ask, please unmute yourself and ask it. Just to say that all the sessions are recorded, so this should be available. You can replay the demo at your leisure.
And the deck that we leveraged is available as well in the agenda as PDF. Obviously, for the demo, you have to take the recording, or you can ask Federica to make it again just for you. It's always available. Yeah, obviously, you know, every time I see the demo from Federica, the real value add of a command line, when you show it as a end user, obviously you have to remember the commands and the position and so on, but the real value add of having a command line extension is that you can easily integrate it in your scripts, easily integrate it in your DevOps chain, your continuous integration and continuous delivery chain. Then there are even customers I know that they are already leveraging the Zoe command line base, and they were looking for having extensions for the different products. And indeed, that is our strategy to continue to increase the number of commands available in the Z Workload Scheduler command line, as well as to have additional command line extensions for other of our products for system management. So if you want to contribute, even saying us, what would be the next command that you would like to see in the Zoe command line for Workload Scheduler, feel free to contact us. You have our email address. We are more than happy to get any feedback on what's next.
If no one has any questions, we can close the session a few minutes early.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Federica.
Thank you.
Thank you.